Hey gamers, Steve here. Finally get to do the unboxing video of the PlayStation 5. If anyone knows Gamers Down Under, two of us, I'm the PlayStation fanboy, you could say. Michael is the Xbox fanboy. So trust me when I say it, I was there for the midnight release on PlayStation 3, midnight release PlayStation 4, missed out on the PlayStation 5. Finally got my hands on it lately, so I'm super excited to do the unboxing for you guys. I'm going to slowly go through it a little bit with you guys today. Just literally the unboxing, have a chat about what they say, all the details, the new SSDs, all that kind of stuff. And then over the next couple of days, I'll do a little bit more of a breakdown, a bit more of a technical breakdown, see if it's got expandable memory, all that kind of stuff. The main thing I am excited for is not really the hardware, it's actually the controller. I feel like Sony has really stepped it up with the haptic feedback, 3D immersive, all that kind of stuff, especially through the controller. I had a quick rundown on one of our streamers, Zach's PlayStation the other day. When PlayStation 3 really brought out the gyro, like the vibration, I guess you could say, even PlayStation 2, back then the magnets in it were so big, the whole entire controller really wobbled. I feel like they've taken this so far tuned now. When you're sliding down a slide, if you're actually holding the controller, because your butt's sitting there touching the slide at the bottom, left, bottom, right, that's the part of the actual controller that vibrates. It's not the whole entire thing. So it's, yeah, the immersiveness through the haptic feedback especially. So what I've been told, especially with shooters, you get recoil with guns, all that kind of stuff. So if you're holding down the R2 trigger to shoot, it gets heavier. It actually wobbles and it will pop your finger off of it. It's there for immersiveness, to give you the feel that, like in real life, you can't just hold a gun and shoot directly straight. It's going to shoot back. It's going to give you the recoil. That's what it's doing with this. Same as with a bow and arrow. You pull the bow and arrow back, it's stiff, 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 gets loose. That's what the actual controller does. But as time progresses, the control actually gets stiffer, because in real life you would fatigue. So, couple of pros and cons. Pro, definitely the new SSD. Anyone from the gamers world, especially PC Master Race world, SSDs have been around for a fair few years. They have been a little bit expensive, but prices have drastically come down. So now in the console world, it's ready. So the only, I guess you could say, con for the SSD is the size. So the main hard drive in this is now an SSD. So anyone who doesn't know, it's a solid state drive. It's only 825 gig. That's just not enough for gaming these days, especially 8K video, 4K, 120 FPS, all that kind of stuff. You'll fill that very quickly. So I'm waiting to see Sony's answer for expandable SSDs. They have said you can get hard drives, external hard drives, but I'm really waiting to see what their actual answer is in regards to the SSD. So that's something that will, yeah, be a bit hit and miss as we go. I'm a big physical collection owner, so for myself, I don't care about having to delete a game, reinstall a game if I have to. I'd rather not do that these days, but if that's what I have to do, or even put it over to an external hard drive. Admin Laman, he can't download, his internet is absolutely atrocious, but he loves digital. So for him, he really has to keep it stored close by, because he can't just re-download things. So PlayStation, even Xbox, they might have hit the mark with the storage capabilities of the SSD, but the speeds they're actually getting through these new hard drives are phenomenal. So we'll have a quick read of what the box says. Obviously, this is the new console. So on the side, you've got the new console and the controller. That's it standing up in the vertical position. So I've always been more of a horizontal position. I don't like the discs being completely sideways. Vertical, because in the PlayStation 2, I believe it was, it didn't have enough friction to hold it there, and you used to scratch your discs. So I was always a horizontal, and that's what that is. So anyone who hasn't seen the actual size of the console now, this is going to be one of the other problems with people, is literally storage in your actual gaming units, TV cabinets, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people are having difficulties, and they're actually having to store it next to their TV on the floor purely because of the size. It is a monster. Sony's lead engineer who designed it actually wanted it to be bigger. He wanted it to be more interchangeable parts, easily worked on, and especially for cooling, that was one of the other parts. But he got rejected by Sony's lead, and they said, no, you have to reduce it by 30%. So this is actually 30% smaller than what it was originally going to be. So on the back, it talks about lightning speed, so harness the power of a custom CPU and SSD with integrated I/O that rewrite the rules of what a PlayStation console can do. I'm interested to see, when they went to the PlayStation 3 architecture, it was a bit heavier. They went away from PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, but the fat PlayStation 3, what they call it, the original one, was completely and utterly backwards compatible. Then they got rid of that when the PlayStation Store started bringing in digital games. Then PlayStation 4, they completely rewrote, and they went a bit easier, more towards the computer world with their actual architecture, and I feel like that was a good way to move forward. I don't feel like Sony should really try to keep themselves in a small circle. So now with the PlayStation 5, computer components, computer architecture, I know we've always had that debate between consoles and PC Master Race, but the one thing PC Master Race does right is interchangeable parts, hardware, and easier writing skills. So obviously with PlayStation, they run off of the one coding design. That's why they can get games so perfect for it. It doesn't have to be Linux, Python, C++, C hash, all these other languages. It's no, this is a language you're going to stick with. So yeah, on the back, other part, breathtaking immersion. This is what I was talking about before with haptic feedback on the controls. I'll do some gameplay footage, and I'll really show that kind of stuff in the next couple of days. Obviously, you can't really tell with the unboxing. Stunning games. So we remember the big leap when we were going from 32 to 64 to 120, like the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, all them kind of things. So it's not a graphical leap into the future. We have had 4K for a while now, but 4K at 120 frames per second or even 60 frames per second out of a console that is less than $1,000, that's a pretty good deal. Like, I've got a gaming PC. To get them sort of figures, you're paying double that, and to try to maintain that life going forward. So yeah, really like the way the console world has gone with all of this. So alright, we'll break it open. So in the box, it's got the content. So it's a PS5 console, wireless controller, the base. So it depends on whether you're going to have it vertical, horizontal, whether you need to put the base on, take it off, all that kind of stuff. HDMI cable, AC power cord, USB cable, printed materials, which I'm wondering what that actually is, and then Astro's Playroom. So it's a pre-installed game. It's very, I guess, childlike, you could say, but it just runs you through a lot of the little basics, and it teaches you how to jump, how to angle. Like, there's even, because I played it on Sunday, instead of moving L3 left and right to lean your character, you actually turn the controller, so it gives that little bit more of immersion. I know they've tried that in the past, and it failed, but the new technology, especially with the controllers, is so much finer. A little movement and it picked it up straight away on the TV. So we'll kick in. Oh, anyone who is watching the unboxing, if you are picking up your PlayStation, do not carry it by the handle. That's the one thing Sony has actually come out and said, that the weight of the whole console with the box, a lot of people are coming after them saying they dropped their console at the shopping centre because this has given way. So if you are going to carry it like a baby, treat it well. Do not hold that handle, otherwise, yeah, you can run the risk of dropping it. So obviously a little bit in here, it quickly talks about how to change over for your PS4 console. So from what I understand, what I've been explained to, it's very, very easy to purely do a changeover from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. You can just connect them up to the same, pretty much same server at home, put in your PSN user on that one, PSN user on this one, say transfer, boom, mass transfer over. So this is the top box, so that's to come out. This is pretty basic. Obviously, it's always going to be. Sometimes they're in the bottom, sometimes they're in the top. Normal user manuals, barely ever actually read them these days. Power cable. This is the magic right here. Just like out of the whole entire console, anyone who has been in the console world will actually know the games when they first come out. Like they're nowhere near as good as what they can actually be. This controller, you won't be able to actually see it, but it's actually, how would you say, it's like textured here for grip. If you actually have very good eyesight, I struggle to see it myself, it's actually little square, triangle, circle and X's, all actually as a texture. So a lot of people don't realize that because it's so fine, you really struggle to actually see it. So part of the new controller, instead of having a circle PlayStation button, it's actually the PlayStation logo, pure mute button. It's the whole thing itself really feels very similar, but it doesn't feel light. It does have a little bit of weight to it. They've extended these arms. It feels a lot more comfortable in the grip. It's like, I don't have the biggest hands, but it really does feel comfortable. You'll see the difference. PlayStation 4 had the big LED light here. It never greatly affected myself because I run RGB lighting, all that kind of stuff in my gaming room, but a lot of people complained that they wanted to actually dull it down. Now the new light is actually a little LED strip in behind the actual touch pad. So it's still touchpad, exactly the same, L1, L2, R1, R2. They'll come out with more extreme editions. You'll have your toggles all on the back, but as a base controller, it feels comfortable as. It's still, obviously, now it's got an easy mute button, so if you are gaming with friends, your partner comes in to tell you off about something, you've forgotten to get dinner out, quickly whack the mute button, everyone doesn't have to hear you get in trouble. So I feel like it is the perfect step in the right direction towards next gen gaming. It feels comfortable. The size of the actual batteries in these is 1500 milliamp hours. I'm interested to see how long they last. PlayStation 4 controllers, you could burn through them pretty quickly depending on what your gaming was like. I'm interested to see how long these actually last. Let the batteries wear in and we'll go from there. So this obviously HDMI cable, same as what we're running earlier, the USB. This is the base. So you can see it depends on which way I actually have the PlayStation set up, is whether it'll sit in here and it'll be upright, vertical, etc. So that's what all the manuals and everything like that talk about. So we'll get out the we'll get the PlayStation out. As you can see, it is a monster. That's the whole thing itself. Just quickly show you literally the height. Like that's 2 hands worth. Definitely all the cooling fans at the top. That's where they wanted the extra expansion. So that way, PlayStation 4 was always renowned for its sound. It was absolutely atrocious. You had it turned on and it literally sounded like a fighter jet. Like you couldn't have it quiet in your bedroom, especially in your gaming room, anything like that. For us at Gamers Down Under, when we were trying to do a podcast, if you had your mic too close to the PlayStation 4, you could hear it going in the background. So from what I understand, it weighs 5 kilos, 6 kilos. So it's not too bad. There's just little details, like you'll see along the actual screen, like they just got little stamps along there. it's little things like that I feel like is the big difference. Inputs, obviously USB. This is the back of the machine if you've got it facing the back, whatever you want to do. So USB, Ethernet, HDMI, and power input. You've got the bottom power on, power off button. Now this is realistically the front. The difficult part with PlayStation 4, when PlayStation 4 first came out, it was a touch sensitive eject button. What they ended up doing, I got the midnight release. Eventually, after about 12 months, 18 months, they ended up actually swapping that out to a mechanical button. They were static up there, and there was nothing worse than playing for a couple of hours and then all of a sudden, boom, it would eject your disc. You'd lose your whole save. There was many of nights where I stopped gaming and I pretty much never came back to that game because I lost so many hours to it. So I feel like it's a good step in the right direction going back to a mechanical key. So that's definitely a big bonus for myself. One extra thing I have read is the interchangeable screens. So from my understanding, it's pretty much just a pop, you push down, pop it up, and you can actually take these face plates off. I won't muck around with it because I want to practice that before doing it in front of you guys, because I'd probably cry a little if I broke my PlayStation on the first day. But one massive thing about PlayStation and Sony and all that kind of stuff, like let's just say I'm a Final Fantasy fan. If they brought out a Final Fantasy PlayStation limited edition, I'd buy it. A lot of people don't want to go out and buy, like Final Fantasy 15 brought out another PlayStation. I wanted to go and buy it. They were limited numbers and I missed out. But some people don't have the money just to throw out and say, oh, I want to get that Fortnite one. I want to get that Final Fantasy one. But with the new PlayStation 5, this whole plastic component literally pops off and you can take it off. So I'm really looking forward to in the future when, say, another Spider-Man game comes out, a God of War game comes out, you can get the base game, and they'll have limited editions where you can get new plates. That's really something I look forward to, because even if it's another $30, $50, I'd buy it, because all of a sudden I can have this face plate instead of having to spend another couple of $100 at minimum to get a whole new PlayStation. So if this is the base model, I'm really looking forward to the PlayStation 5 Pro. I hope they step it up and you can get 8K gaming by the time the Pro comes out, even though we don't realistically have the internet speeds here in Australia, or I don't have an 8K TV, I've got the 4K TV, so I'm absolutely excited to get this thing going. But yeah, that's pretty much the unboxing in a nutshell. Over the next couple of days, I'll really do some actual tech breakdowns, see what the day one patch is like. It's been released 12th of November, I think it was, roughly the mid of November, so it's been 2 weeks, so I'd expect there will be some day one patches when I first install it. I'll see what size they are, I'll take some photos, I'll give you guys a real big rundown on all that kind of stuff. I'm interested to see how much room on the SSD there is left after the operating system. From my understanding, what I've read online, even though it's an 825 gigabyte SSD, it's roughly 200 gig for the operating system. So you only get 600 gig free. If anyone's watching and they're a Call of Duty fan, you'll realize that some of their game states can be 200 gig. So all of a sudden you can only fit 3 games on your new console. So I really feel like next gen gaming took a real big leap towards the future, but they stopped just shy of what realistically we could have had. So maybe the Pro will actually have 2 hard drives, like a PC, have the SSD for the operating system and whatever main game you want to play, and then have an actual hard drive inside it. So you have your SSD and then a HDD, and that can be the bigger component, say a 10 gig HDD instead of having an external. So I know they did have problems with fitting everything in, cooling, all that kind of stuff. That's what all this design is actually for. It's designed to try to throw the sound away. And yeah, that's about it for now, gamers. So hopefully you've enjoyed what you saw. I'll give you all a big rundown over the next couple of days. Hopefully day one patch isn't too big, so I'll be able to actually do some gaming tonight. link it all up. I'll do a little bit of a rundown of how to transfer from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. Hopefully I don't lose all my trophies as well. And yeah, we'll go from there. So thanks guys for tuning in. Just remember, gamers got a game and it'll never be game over. Thanks guys.